will go down as one of the best to ever play the game.
I've been following professional basketball for over 20 years now, and frankly, I can't recall any top draft pick, male or female, drawing as much pre-draft and rookie year criticism as the WNBA's 2024 #1 selection, Caitlin Clark. Think about it. LeBron James didn't face widespread fury until the decision. Kevin Durant's reputation took a hit when he joined the Golden State Warriors. Ben Simmons didn't become a critical target until he started sitting out seasons. Even players who thrive on being villains, like Dylan Brooks, typically earn that hate by embracing the role first. The common thread? There was always a clear, provocative action, something they did, that ignited the backlash. And that's usually fair game. People are entitled to make choices, but those choices come with consequences. I bring this up because Caitlin Clark isn't just a new star in the WNBA. She's arguably the biggest rising star in all of basketball. And yet, she's faced an intense, constant stream of negativity seemingly for no reason at all. She hasn't trash-talked opponents. She didn't take the easy road by joining a stacked team. And she certainly hasn't been pulling any stunts like faking an injury. Everything I've seen of her this season and throughout her college career shows a player operating at an elite level while conducting herself as a consummate professional. Despite this, a significant number of people have treated her like she's committed some kind of offense. Well, today, we're going to dive into the critics and take a closer look at how Caitlin Clark has been silencing them. Not with words, but with a series of incredible on-court performances. Up in time, Clark for the win. And this is precisely why Caitlin Clark is destined to be one of the best to ever step onto the court.
There's levels to this thing, and that's just life. We all went through it.
Of course.
And you see it on the NBA side, and you're going to see it on this side, where, you look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but you're going to come with some grown women that have been playing professional basketball for a long time. I'm taking Paige. Next question.
So if you had the #1 pick this year, you would take Paige over Caitlin?
Absolutely.
But before we jump into the individuals, we have to talk about the narrative itself. Why is the criticism so unique? In the NBA, a player like LeBron faced scrutiny after he achieved dominance and made a controversial move. Clark, however, was met with resistance before she even played her first professional game. This is where the deeper issues emerge: gender, race, and the pressure of being a league's economic engine. Clark has become a flashpoint for long-simmering cultural and historical conversations within women's basketball. She's white, she plays a dynamic, flashy style, and she arrived with an unprecedented media spotlight. For some, her instant fame seemed to overshadow veterans who have been grinding for years. Critics often frame it as a manufactured star narrative, suggesting the media chose her. But that completely ignores the reality. She chose herself. Her record-breaking play, the audacious deep threes, and her remarkable assist numbers forced the spotlight onto her and, by extension, the entire WNBA. You can't accuse a player of being manufactured when she is simultaneously breaking decades-old records and single-handedly driving up TV ratings by over 100%. That's not media invention, that's market validation. And yet, every aspect of her game, the shot selection, the occasional turnover, the rookie struggles, is immediately put under a microscope that no other player in the league currently faces. This isn't just criticism, it's a constant, suffocating scourge of skepticism that attempts to delegitimize her success. One of the earliest and most vocal critics was the legendary Diana Taurasi. For reasons that still aren't entirely clear, Taurasi has been critical of Clark from the start. One of her most notable comments suggested Clark had an easy college career, warning that she'd face a harsh reality in the WNBA where she'd go up against grown women. There's levels to this thing, and that's just life. You look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but you're going to come with some grown women that have been playing professional basketball for a long time. Now, let's pause and analyze the irony of Taurasi's grown women comment. While the WNBA is undoubtedly a step up, this critique was a complete failure in reading the room. It alienated a massive new audience drawn to the WNBA because of Clark. It set the stage for an unnecessary generational conflict. Before the 2024 WNBA draft, Taurasi threw more shade, stating that if it were her choice, Clark wouldn't have been the first pick. I'm taking Paige Buchers. Next question. In yet another interview, she claimed Paige Bueckers was a better player than Clark because of her superior passing. "I said she's the best player in basketball already for the simple fact is she can pass." This is a clear jab at Clark's game. I'm not here to knock Paige Bueckers, but in college, she averaged just 4.5 assists per game. Clark, on the other hand, led the NCAA in assists for 3 consecutive years, nearly doubling that number with a career average of 8.2 assists per game. Clark is not just a high-volume shooter, she is a high-volume creator. Her ability to stretch the defense allows for the passing lanes to open up, making her teammates better, a true sign of a transcendent player. What makes this animosity even more difficult is that Clark once spoke of idolizing Taurasi as a young player.
Honestly, she was probably one of the first women's basketball players I really grew up idolizing.
To make matters worse, despite Clark's massive celebrity coming into the WNBA, Taurasi never reached out to her, not even once, as Clark herself confirmed.
The best advice that Bet has given you in game this season?
Nobody gives me advice in game. I wish.
Clark has never spoken ill of Taurasi. You won't find a single negative quote. But she definitely got her revenge where it counts most, on the court. In their highly anticipated first matchup, Clark completely dominated, posting a double-double with 15 points and 12 assists, leaving no doubt who owned the court that day. In their second game, with Taurasi sidelined, Clark took control again, putting up another double-double, 20 points and 13 assists, leading her team to a blowout victory. Then came their third and final meeting of the season, Taurasi's last chance to make a statement. Clark delivered the knockout blow, dropping 29 points and 10 assists, sealing a 3-0 sweep of Taurasi's Phoenix Mercury. Taurasi warned Clark she was in for a rude awakening facing fully grown women. Instead, Clark made both her and those fully grown women look like yesterday's news. Another critic Clark effectively silenced was Lexi Brown. During an appearance on the Gills Arena podcast, Brown made the ridiculous claim that all Clark could do was shoot threes.
Who plays the style that how
What
Caitlin
is her
plays?
style? Just threes?
Wow. It's
What
not
is her-
just threes.
What
though.
is her style?
Now that the season is well underway, it's clear both in hindsight and foresight that Brown's comment was just pure hate. She had to know Clark led the NCAA in assists for 3 straight years. And to top it off, Clark is now leading the WNBA in assists too, averaging over 8 per game. Funny how that turned out. Let's get technical for a moment to crush this just a shooter myth. An average WNBA point guard is a facilitator, creating around 4 to 6 assists per game. Clark is currently delivering over 8, putting her in an elite category. What's more, watch the game tape. Her passes aren't simple dump-offs. They are cross-court rockets that often lead directly to layups or open threes. Her three-point threat is the gravitational pull that makes those passes possible. To call her just a shooter is to fundamentally misunderstand modern basketball offense. Also on Gills Arena, Brown essentially implied she could do everything Clark does, if only she had the same green light. I haven't seen a player with that type of freedom and green light before in college. I've had games in college and pro. 6, 7, 8 threes made out of 12, 11, 13, not 20. She was clearly suggesting Clark isn't anything too special. But let's look at the facts, guys. In the 2 games they faced off, Clark completely outclassed Brown. We're talking 41 points to 8, 4 blocks to 1, 7 steals to 1-1, 14 assists to 4, and 15 rebounds to 9. Even in effective field goal percentage, it's 45% to 32%. These 2 players aren't in the same league, yet Brown had the audacity to trash-talk Clark, claiming she wasn't special. That's absolutely ridiculous. Equally ridiculous was the decision by Team USA to leave Clark off the roster. They vaguely claimed it was due to meeting certain criteria.
Essentially it was the committee's job to pick the 12 that, based on our selection criteria.
By excluding her, they implied she didn't meet their standards. Now, here's why that's completely absurd. Take a look at the latest MVP ladder. Nafisa Collier of the Lynx sits at number 3, Aja Wilson of the Aces is at number 1, and right between them at number 2 is Caitlin Clark. What they're essentially saying is that arguably the second best player in the league wasn't good enough to make the team. This is someone who took a bottom-tier team, turned them into a playoff contender, and since June has led them to become the 3rd best team in the league. The Team USA snub was not about basketball criteria. It was about politics and veteran deference. The committee prioritized players with a longer history in the program, sacrificing the best player for the safest option. They effectively chose to minimize locker room drama over maximizing their talent and global star power. The message it sent was that even undeniable, generation-defining talent can be sidelined by those who feel entitled to maintain the status quo. This plays into a general media criticism, the volume scorer argument. Many analysts, mostly older ones, have criticized her high shot attempts and turnovers, arguing she's simply taking advantage of a high-usage role on a poor team. But this ignores the context. She has to. She's not on the Aces, she's on a rebuilding team, and every possession runs through her because no one else is capable of generating offense at that level. Her high volume is a necessity, not a selfish choice. The turnovers? That's the cost of being the primary creator and ball handler against the best defensive players in the world. Caitlin Clark's dominance on the court is honestly making the WNBA's critics look foolish. One of the last critics Clark had to deal with was WNBA legend Sheryl Swoopes. In a previous episode of Gil's Arena, Swoopes appeared as a guest and didn't hold back, taking the opportunity to tear down Clark's achievements.
She's killing them, but you have a 25-year-old playing against a 20-year-old. Like, you should be killing them.
Yeah.
Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set it.
Okay.
Swoopes claimed Clark was a 25-year-old playing against younger college girls, when in reality, Clark was 22 and competing against players her own age. She also severely exaggerated, saying Clark was taking 40 shots per game, though her average was actually 22.7. On top of that, Swoopes downplayed Clark's accomplishments, calling her scoring title illegitimate. She later went on to praise the Indiana Fever, mentioning several players by name, but notably omitted Caitlin Clark.
She sat up there and was applauding Indiana Fever players, but then forgot to mention Caitlin Clark.
That was completely absurd. It's like praising Draymond and Clay while ignoring Steph Curry or Rodman and Pippen, but leaving out Michael Jordan. Clark is right there as the top scorer on the Fever while also leading the team in assists. To discuss the Fever without mentioning her is ridiculous. Swoopes' factual errors were not just mistakes, they were a self-inflicted wound that exposed a clear bias. You can critique a player's style, but when you misstate a player's age and shot attempts by such a wide margin, you lose all credibility. It became a perfect example of a narrative built on emotion rather than data, and it backfired spectacularly. And how did Clark shut down Sheryl Swoopes? By doing absolutely nothing at all. I'm not kidding. Clark hasn't said a word about any of this. But meanwhile, Sheryl Swoopes is self-destructing. She's now in online spats with Stephen A. Smith and feuding with fellow WNBA legend Nancy Lieberman. All this hating on Clark has done nothing but damage her own reputation across the board. For example, she's part of the Dallas Wings broadcast team, but when the Fever came to town, they had to pull her off the broadcast due to all the drama she stirred up. What's hilarious is that, again, Clark has remained completely silent throughout all of this, while Swoopes resorted to publicly sharing screenshots of their private conversation. Here's what fans online are saying about all the hate Swoopes has been throwing. Sheryl Swoopes really sunk so low that people have to agree with Stephen A. Smith now, and it's sad to see her swoop to that level. Caitlin Clark truly represents what it means to be a standout WNBA player. It's not a stretch to say that she's already become the face of the league. She's handled every bit of hate with grace, letting her game speak for itself. That's how she's been silencing her critics and demolishing her haters. The greatest revenge for any professional athlete is simply results. Clark isn't just winning games, she's growing the game itself. The critics, whether they are legends, peers, or pundits, can talk all they want. But the numbers don't lie. Attendance is up, TV ratings are up, and the Indiana Fever are now relevant. The best part of this story isn't that Clark silenced her critics, it's that her critics became irrelevant because the massive fan base she created drowned them out. Oh, and remember when I talked about Clark's final game against Angel Reese, where she completely dominated and made Reese look defeated? If you want the full story of what went down in that game and just how badly Clark crushed her, be sure to check out the video on your screen where I break down every detail.